Welcome to the simpliHOM podcast, where we educate, inspire, and entertain real estate entrepreneurs seeking a casual and practical podcast. We're here to simplify your life and business.
You can find growth anywhere. And as long as you have an open mind and take those opportunities to learn, then you're going to grow from it.
The easiest thing too is just always being in your zone of genius. What you are passionate about and are good at.
The mindset shift is drastic when you're thinking of I am this person as opposed to I want to become or one day I will be is huge.
I feel like a lot of real estate companies have been putting a focus on themselves, basically. Recently, we've been putting it on the agents, and that's when our socials have been doing the best. It's become really personal, and we've gotten a lot more traction.
It never fails. Every single intro, I love that beat. Yeah. I just find myself dancing to the beat. Anyway, welcome to the simpliHOM podcast. I am hosting today. I'm Sean Miku, CEO, founder of simpliHOM. I've never done this before, so I apologize for any mistakes that I make. But I am joined here by David Balfour, who is one of our brokers at simpliHOM, and more importantly, beyond a broker, a friend, who really I wouldn't be where I am without him because he was my broker. Nice. So we are going to talk about, I have no idea, but we're going to talk about some great stuff, I'm sure. But in honor of SWI, our lovely Sarah Wiley Armstrong, she wants us to do a HighLow Buffalo, which means we share a win. Mm-hmm. We share not a loss, but a low. Oh, and I'm sorry. We're also joined naturally by Grant on the ones and twos over there. And we still don't have a Grant cam set up because we suck. So, so we're going to share a win. We're going to share a not necessarily a win. And then we're going to share what's a buffalo again? Do you remember? No. Yeah, me neither. All right.
Something furry, I guess.
Yeah, something furry. We're going to make up our rules. That's what we're going to do. All right, go ahead. What's your high?
Well, this week, my wife and I decided to buy electronic bicycles. These are actual bicycles that you take out on the greenway. They're not stationary bikes, but they're electronically assisted, battery assisted. And it has been life-changing in the last 4 days, believe it or not.
Do you pedal?
You do pedal. You have to pedal for the machinery to kick in, for the assistance to kick in. And it makes you climb a hill, a 20-degree hill, like you're walking. It's unbelievable the difference it makes in biking and how it takes away the intimidation of riding bikes for long distances and things. Not cheap, but very, very cool.
Not cheap, but very cool. Yeah. So an electric bicycle sounds like my type of bicycle because I'm out of shape.
Yeah, as are we. And I've gone in and out of shape many times in my lifetime, but it is definitely time to get back in. And it is harder than it used to be. They tell you that as you grow older, and you don't believe it until it happens to you. Yeah. So let me tell you, it gets harder.
All right. So start today. Notes. All right. Fair enough.
But they're amazing. It looks just like a regular, like a beach rider kind of bicycle. It's not a speed-looking bike, or an off-road bike or anything. It's a very typical-looking bicycle, and it's just great. I mean, the amount of energy it adds to your own is, couldn't believe it.
So because of the extra energy, is it are you going further?
Yeah, we've already done 10 miles twice.
Dang.
And she's done an additional 5, and we're going to try a 30 this weekend.
30.
Yeah.
All right. Well, don't invite me. I won't be around. I
I'm not sure how we're going to feel after that one.
Probably sore, if I had to guess.
Probably sore.
That's awesome, though. It sounds fun. Let's see. A high. All right. My high is for the month of February, simpliHOM contracted almost 300 houses.
That is amazing.
Which is a really big win for a really normally slowish month.
Yeah.
And inventory down 25% year over year doesn't necessarily help that.
Right.
So I know it's kind of a loser thing to have a high as your a work high, but
no, I'm just worried that I should have said something business related.
No. Let's see. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything outside of work that's a high. No, probably not. I got new tires on my car. That was a high.
Nice. That's good. That's good.
So
That's probably also your low.
also, yeah. So Tennessee right now, the roads in Tennessee are horrible.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know how I haven't popped all of my tires.
Right.
But I did have one blowout in Samantha's car from a massive crater in the middle of the interstate that I hit at 85 miles an hour. But then, so I went to get new tires because my car doesn't have spares.
Oh, okay.
And so they were like, well, you need run flats. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. And so they ordered all these new run flats. And so I go to get them on, and I'm sitting there, you know, tire shops are like, you're there for hours on end. And I'm sitting there, and like 2 hours later, they go, sir, we've been looking everywhere for the fourth tire. We had it yesterday, but we can't find it. And they're like, so we're going to have to order it, and you're going to have to come back. And I was like, shoot, man, like just trying to get out of here. Yeah. So they called me 2 days ago, and they're like, hey, we finally got your fourth tire in, and you can come by. We'll rush you through. I'm like, all right, rush. Let's go. So I get there 8 o'clock yesterday morning, and at 10:15, I left with my last tire. It took that long for one tire.
Wow.
So anyway, that's my high, low, and my Buffalo, I guess.
That's what I learned about Audi recently when I had a screw in the sidewall where they can't repair the tire. They had to replace it. Audi has Quattro four-wheel drive thing, so I had to pay for 4 new tires because of the way that the system runs.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep, all the tires have to have the same tread.
Oh, I screwed up a couple Audis then because I had 2 Audis and I only put new on one axle. All right. So shifting to business, I bothered David this weekend and I was like, listen, I had something come up on Monday. I can't make it. Can you go to this economic meeting for me to get kind of an economic outlook of what's taking place, what projections are, et cetera. And there's a lot of chaos in the world. There's been a lot of chaos in the world for several years. Literally, since we started this company, we've had almost 2.5 years, I guess, of just pure global chaos in some way, shape, or form. And yet we've grown significantly through it. But I know that, you know, realtors start questioning things like what's going to happen in the market. We've got Russia, Ukraine, we've got, you know, pipelines, we've got inflation, we've got. And so it's good for us as leadership to be like, all right, this is kind of what everybody's seeing. How can we direct the ship a little bit better? And so David attended the economic outlook meeting and has pages and pages of notes. And I'm curious what your findings were.
The takeaway I'll start with is that markets are going to change, industries are going to change. How you react to them is really what's important in your business, right? So there are things you can't change. You can't change a global economy. You can't change a pandemic. But how you act to those things and how you take advantage of the holes that those things leave, some of the most success can be found in times that everyone else is saying the sky is falling. Right? That said, the sky is not falling.
Good.
According to the industry updates. But we do have some interesting things going on. Typically in any market, 2/3 of all home sales are comprised of existing homes and 1/3 of new construction. Well, for the past 1.5 to 2 years, it's been the inverse. 2/3 of all home sales are new construction, and 1/3 has been the existing homes, partly due to that shortage is creating the prices keep going up. Interest rates have inched up. People are holding on to their homes. So a lot of your transient business, your California movers and all of that, they're able to afford a little bit more home than Middle Tennesseans, which is kind of another topic. And they're buying new homes. They're pricier and they're more available as a percentage of homes than they were. By 2023, fall 2023, that looks to go back to normal. That where 2/3 will now be existing homes and 1/3 back to new construction.
What's going to drive that though?
Part of that is that the materials are still running late and that the new construction is going to continue to slow in new construction. That is going to encourage the existing homeowners to to maybe put theirs on the market, less competition. Interest rates are going to inch up in a good way, because interest rates, it never sounds like interest rates going up is a good thing. But there's a fear factor. And that fear factor is when you start to hit that, checking my notes here, roughly 4.5%, 5%, that's when people are saying, oh, I've waited too long. I need to get on this bus before it hits 10, 15, 20% or whatever they fear it's going to be. So it spurs a whole round of consumerism on these existing homes. And with fewer new homes out of the ground, it encourages homeowners to put theirs on the market.
Interesting. See, I would, and I know they're two separate categories when it comes to charts and everything, but the way that builders transitioned through COVID was, instead of allowing pre-sales, they shifted and said, you know what, we're just going to go spec only. We're going to build what we build, and you're going to buy what you buy. And so from that standpoint, I almost view the new construction as existing right now. Again, it's a completely separate chart. I recognize that, but it's not. I think we're seeing less and less of like, hey, let's go put an offer on this new construction house, and in 7 months we're going to close. And I think we're seeing more of, it's new construction, yes, but we're going to close in 45 days. And
customization is gone.
It for now, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an opportunity for, we have multiple builders inside of our company who are custom. And I think that's an opportunity for them. But then they've had to fall back on, different contract language to accommodate the supply chain woes and malfunctions that led to increases in costs that were far beyond anything they could have imagined. I remember a year ago talking to one of them, and he was like, yeah, we're going to have to add this provision in the contract because, electrical supplies are up 30% or whatever the case may be. So, and then rates going up. I don't think rates are going to go up in the immediate future. I know they were supposed to, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I think even as recently as this presentation I went to, the Ukraine thing is a brand new topic, right? So the trends that were happening just a week ago are possibly thrown out the window now, because our country wants to maintain its stability. And so the last thing you want to do is increase interest rates during a time like that. It does affect inflation, but depending on your views politically, filling the country with money now, keeping the interest rates low, is a Band-Aid, right? Yeah. And right now, Band-Aids are felt to be more important than actual surgical fixes. Yeah. Right. So I think that this report was done before Ukraine. Yeah. And so I'm not quite sure I agree with exactly what it's saying.
Yeah, it's interesting because, Janet Yellen and the Fed, there's going to be a moment where they're going to have to decide what's taking place. And with SWIFT being blocked in most banks in Russia, it was expected to have significant market impacts. And honestly, I don't know that I've really seen significant market impacts since that was announced. And that was announced over the weekend. Yeah. And granted, when everybody listens to this, it's going to be 2 weeks old, right? I think so, 3 weeks old. So we are, obviously it's all speculation. We're going to find out if we're profits or not, though, I guess, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to be interesting. But all right, so you're an agent. You're out there. You're, you're looking. You're hearing the media talk about this and that, and I've seen even a couple of headlines where housing's in trouble, blah blah blah, and it's, in my opinion, a lot of sensationalism, because fear sells, media sells fear all the time. But if you're an agent, you're working with buyers who are maybe starting to hear that message and think it. How are you as a broker advising those agents to handle that discussion?
I'm advising them to ask their clients why they're looking for a house. The number or the percentage of buyers, particularly buyers, that are looking for a house, that the reason they're looking for that house is because it's a perfect time for a financial investment. Yeah. Pretty low. The reason why people buy houses from the day one to now is marriage, divorce, kids, expansion, like a different school system. My job moved me. I've got a ton of equity in my existing house, so I'm prompted, I'm, for lack of a better word, greedy. I'm going to take advantage of that. Very rarely are they wondering, should I buy a house because of what's happening in Ukraine?
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah.
You know, and because of all the news that comes in, that tries to imply that whatever's happening in a whole nother half a world away, how it affects us locally, because of the news looking for newsworthy messages, it starts to freak people out.
Yeah.
So my advice to the agents is to chill a little bit, just stay in your lane. This is why you're in this business, to help people buy and sell homes, and those people still want to buy and sell homes.
Yeah.
Don't talk them out of it, you know, because the market's not going to get any better.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I heard it said a few weeks back that, you know, the cheapest Nashville is going to be in the next 5-10 years is today. And
Yeah.
the next cheapest is going to be tomorrow.
Yep.
And so on. And, you know, rates changing, you know, if the rates do go up, good. It's
Right.
still not 24% like it was in the 80s.
Right. Yeah. In that seminar that I was at, he talked about the magic. He called it the bump rate, and that's the rate where it will actually slow down the market. And he said back in the 80s and 90s, it was way up, you know, 13-14% or even higher. But then more recently, like in 06 area, it ran about 6%, 6.5%. Now he's saying 6% will shut the market down. He said 5.25 to 4.75 is that bump rate, which means that's going to be that fear flag. So if people start to see it, some people will back off, but a lot of people will say, I've waited too long. I need to hurry up and buy a house before it goes to, in their heads, 10, 12, 13%.
Yeah. I wonder what like just pure speculation. I wonder what the driver of that is. If it's I guess probably more so the boomers, maybe Gen X that lived through that period where the rates were so high. But maybe it's the fact that people have been almost programmed to the fact that, oh, rates are just, you know, normal at this low of 3 or 2.5 or whatever. So then they hear 5 and they start freaking out.
Yeah, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
You know, they think they've become so accustomed to hearing these sub-4 rates that they don't take it seriously. So when it hits 4.75 or more, they're like, oh, wait. I should have been paying attention. I should have been in a house. I should have been looking harder. Right.
So you were in the industry in the last downturn.
Yeah.
In 9/10. You were also were you getting into the industry right after 9/11?
Was it 01, 02? 9/11?
01.
01.
Yeah.
I got in September of 02.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say I felt much of that because I was just getting started, which is a whole different dynamic than what the industry is doing itself, right? But I definitely was in full bore in 06.
Yeah.
And in 06, first of all, the market crashed for a totally different reason than people are thinking the market will crash this time.
Right.
The housing bubble didn't exist. The mortgage bubble existed.
Mm-hmm.
It was the mortgage industry that crashed the whole economy, much less just the real estate market. Those 3-4 years were some of the best years I've ever had, right? Because I looked at the market and I said, well, foreclosures are big. It's time to go ahead and jump on those and help people. I'm always looking at it from a standpoint of what do people need from me? And in those years, they needed help. They wanted to avoid foreclosure. They wanted to turn an already bad situation to as least pain as possible. A foreclosure is going to be 7 years before you buy a house, where a short sale is 2 years, right? So I really jumped into the short sale side. And that's kind of what my point to any agent is. Don't worry about the market. Worry about what you can do with what the market presents to you.
Yeah, your actions dictate your economy, ultimately.
Yeah.
And your focus is your outcome, really. And I know personally some amazing agents who became amazing agents through that time.
Mm-hmm.
whether they're with our company or outside of our company.
Sure.
I mean, some phenomenal people in the industry. Darren Cunningham is one of them.
Absolutely.
I mean, Darren like forged a path through all of that and crushed it. I know Amber in your office crushed it throughout that. And so, I mean, there's obviously people are always buying and selling real estate, period. It's just your client
because of
might
all
shift
those other
a little
reasons
bit.
I mentioned.
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
Those things are going to happen regardless of an economy.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. What did you have any other takeaways from that you found striking?
Let's see. Let me go through some notes here real quick. Existing inventory is improving. The fall of 23, he said fall of 23, he's going to forecast as kind of a back to normal style inventory. So we're getting there.
So
right?
which normal, like 2017 normal? Because that was a great year.
Yeah, I think he was indicating around a 2018, 2019 maybe. So maybe not.
Those were such great years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. You know, real estate is such a local, hyper local thing.
Yeah.
And even in 06 to 10, whenever the actual dip, well, I don't remember when it was, whenever that actually was, you know, Nashville didn't really feel it a whole lot in Middle Tennessee.
Not to the
it was like
extent
10% drop, right? Something?
At the most, yeah. When we grew at 4 to 6%. When we dropped 8 to 10%. California, New York, whatever, San Francisco.
Get crushed.
Yeah, those are 30% swings up and down.
Right.
So we've always had a level of stability in our part of the country, which is great. So even though it feels bad, when you compare it to what other people are dealing with, we've got it pretty nice here.
Yeah, and there's a lot of conversation right now about inflation, and I actually saw a chart yesterday. 40% of all the money in circulation in the United States today was printed in the last 2 years. Crazy, right?
Yep.
But I also saw a chart comparing our market today versus the inflationary market of the 70s, 80s, early 80s. And it's not even close right now. I mean, it's, you know, again, going back to sensationalism, not trying to throw the media under the bus here, but, you know, somebody's got to do it. At the end of the day, it's not necessarily where it's not that bad yet. Yeah. Now, who knows? It could be. With all the stuff going on around the world, maybe it might impact it. I know wages are up 40%. I saw yesterday that Target's hiring for $17 to $25 an hour to stock shelves. Those types of things are going to present challenges. And as an employer, it's something that presents a challenge as well, because somebody can go, you know, work at Target for $20 an hour. It's like, what? Why? But it's going to be something that starts shifting it, and all of that's going to get passed to the consumer because the business can't support it.
Absolutely.
So it's an interesting thing that we're approaching there. Now, outside of the economic things that we're all facing, what are some challenges other than inventory being down 25%? Are you seeing any challenges locally or in your office that you're dealing with on a consistent basis? Yes,
definitely. I think that the investor buyer is consuming a tremendous amount of inventory, making it that
the
much
hedge
hard.
funds.
The hedge funds. Yeah. They are making it extremely difficult for a Middle Tennessee family to purchase a moderately priced home.
Yeah.
That is not going to go away anytime soon. It doesn't appear. We have to have more inventory for that to help us out a little bit. I was reading here that we also have a transfer in market that is 50% higher than typical years, going over like a three-year swing. So,
what does that mean?
So if we had an average of 5% growth from California people in previous years, we now have 7.5 now. So it is a significant increase. Luckily, those are affecting primarily like $700,000 and up, which 2 years ago would have said, well, who buys $700,000 houses, right? Well, now a lot of people do in our market because we've all done that, but or we've all seen that. But it's still the hedge fund buyers. They're very difficult to compete with because they've got unlimited amounts of cash. They are grossly overpaying because they're betting on the value of the asset over time, and then they're jacking up the rent to those tenants, And at some point, in fact, that was another thing here, estimated 8 to 10 years.
That's what I was going to ask. They're betting on an 8 to 10 year turn to get that return in equity?
Yep. They're
Wow.
betting 8 to 10 years. The rental inventories are expected to start selling off. So that's going to spur a great opportunity for renovators and home builders that also renovate homes, because these guys are not going to touch the homes before they put them on the market. They're going to rent them out, do as little as they can to them, as most tenants and landlord situations are. And then 8 to 10 years, somebody's going to buy them for cheap, and they're going to renovate them. And so the house flipping business should be pretty strong in 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's going to help with the inventory. So that he doesn't say that they're going to quit buying houses, but they are what houses they've been buying. They're going to flip that inventory in 8 to 10 years.
And then buy twice as many. No kidding.
Maybe, but they and that's a pretty far out projection.
Yeah.
But it's still good to know that people don't think of what's going to happen long term to these homes. You know, so it's nice to know that we are going to see some of those homes become available to the mom and pop shopper, I call them.
Yeah. That's interesting. I've seen, and I actually had a conversation with somebody recently who does hard money. And in the conversation, he said, if you have a development that is purely built to lease, we'll fund 100% instantly.
Yeah, man.
And that's what everybody's up against.
Yeah.
Those hedge funds, the Wall Street money that's flooding Main Street is insane.
Yeah.
And it is unlimited. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, when I'm talking to an agent about those types of situations, Open Door, Ribbon, all of these different programs, they all have one goal.
The same thing by different labels.
Yeah. It's the same thing. You're just acquiring a property, getting a return for your investors. That's it.
Yeah.
And, they are overpaying, but they don't care because they've got all these other assets that they paid for a long time ago that they probably underpaid for along the lines, you know, and their fees are exorbitant as hell. So there's that too. Yeah.
They know what they're doing. It sounds, you know, when those of us looking outside, you know, looking at what they're paying and what they're doing, like they're crazy. It looks like, but they're not crazy. They know exactly what they're doing.
Very calculated.
Yeah. These are very smart people running these places.
Yeah.
You know?
And they're not going to gamble with their clients' money, which is literally all they're spending.
Exactly.
So the other night we drove down to Chattanooga for one of our Simply Connect events with our agents. And on the way back, I asked you a question that is a really difficult question to answer right now, but is the same question that the majority of agents in this market are facing right now, where they have sellers who want to sell and they have no idea where to go or how to go about moving because of it. And I know you're asked that 50 times a week, probably. How do you handle it?
It comes down to how motivated are you really in your business? And not to suggest that people aren't plenty motivated, because they are, but it's going to take a different mentality to succeed for the step-up buyer or the seller that wants to buy something else. And the way to do that is find out what they want to buy and go find the property that they want to buy. Don't look online. Don't check MLS. Don't check with your agents that are working on a listing. Go out and farm neighborhoods, whether that's letters, phone calls, knocking on doors, whatever it needs to be. There's tax record available that easily identifies homeowners that have been there for 5 or more years, and their mortgages are probably such to where they can make a bunch of money. And those conversations in those homes are happening. Those families are saying, should we sell?
Yeah.
And if you catch that homeowner at the right time, you just might be able to find your buyer and therefore your seller a home. But you're not going to easily find it, or you're going to consistently compete for it if you pull from the inventory that everyone else is pulling from.
Yeah. One of our agents, actually one of our original agents when we started the company, he always jokes that he's going to write a book called Get Off Your Ass.
Yeah. It's about
And he
it.
said it's going to be like 300 pages and every page is going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's really what it boils down to, because when you are faced with that individual who's like, man, I would love to move right now, but I have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
You can't just go rely on the MLS. You got to get off your ass.
You gotta go
go
find
knock
them.
on
Yeah.
doors, go call FSBOs, go find the Make Me Move
Yeah.
people on Zillow, whatever it takes.
Yep. We have agents in our office and in our company that have found dozens and dozens of homes to flip in this market.
Yeah. Dozens.
Lots of homes.
And not even flipping necessarily.
making tremendous income strides,
Yeah.
right? And does it with a great heart and a great, does everything right.
Yeah.
And then I'm just talking about one, but there are
Right.
others. None of what he's buying is coming off of MLS.
Absolutely.
He's got systems in place, very, very organized systems in place that goes and seeks out these homeowners, and he's finding them.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really interesting because everybody overcomplicates the lead gen process.
Yes.
And it's one of the things, like, I try to, anytime we have like a new agent orientation, which we had this morning, I always try to instill the fact that a lead is not a big scary word.
Right.
Right? A lead is just a human being that may or may not work with you, period.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. And when you simplify it down to that, it's like, all right, well, how do I get in touch with more people? Because that's the actual answer.
Yeah.
Whether it's knocking on doors or it's, texting or getting a list of people to call or send handwritten notes to or letters to, or getting probate lists or what. I mean, there's no shortage of ways to get in front of people.
Right.
But I do feel like people overcomplicate how to get in front of people.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I agree. I think they both overcomplicate and oversimplify. There's that middle ground.
Fair
in there,
enough.
right? They overcomplicate.
Maybe
by-
I'm oversimplifying.
They're working so hard on building a unique way to find them that they spend all their time building it and they never go do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Busy versus productive.
Exactly. Where on the oversimplified start is we have as an industry, since the Zillow became a thing, we've been spoon fed quote unquote
leads.
opportunities for homeowners, for home buyers. And it got to the point where those leads were very expensive.
Yeah.
And they still are. And people are still buying them.
It's crazy.
Not as much, but they're still
crazy.
buying them. So I think that whole concept, people that have been a lot longer than me, you're 30, 40-year agents, probably look at those people that bought Zillow leads and go, what were you thinking? Why don't you just go walk around your neighborhood?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you join some clubs? Why don't you be involved with the memberships at your church? Or, just be there.
Yeah.
And you will find business. I belong to a bowling league. I had 2 guys in the last month ask me about pricing their home.
Yeah.
And I didn't have my simpliHOM shirt on. I mean, I just heard them talking about it. I said, hey, I could send you some pricing if you want.
Yeah.
It does work out.
It's a
to be pretty
contact
simple.
sport, right?
Yeah, it's a contact sport. Well said.
I started the flying club a few years ago just to, one, my passion is flying.
Yeah.
And then 2, I get around a group of people who share a passion, and people do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Absolutely.
And so, I get around people, they like me now because we have similar interests. They know me now because we're part of the same group, and now they just have to build trust. And it's something that I've given new agents advice on in the past of like, look, what's something outside of real estate that you enjoy doing? Maybe you enjoy hiking, maybe you enjoy cooking, maybe you enjoy gardening, maybe you enjoy dogs, like a
Right.
special type of dog, whatever the case may be.
Right.
There's always a group of people who enjoy those same things. So go find those people and then don't shove real estate down their throat.
Yeah, just be a human being.
Yeah, just be a human. Have a human interaction. And obviously their first question is always, so what do you do?
Yep.
Oh, well, answer it. And
Yeah.
then now they know, and
Yeah.
then be a human.
Yeah, you don't have to say, I'm a realtor, what do you got?
Right.
You just say, hey, I sell houses for a living, or help people buy and sell houses,
Yeah.
however you answer that. And one of the hardest things to teach, and probably one of the hardest things to learn for people, is patience.
Yeah, 100%.
No one should expect to get rich overnight in this business. If you stick with it and you get involved and you talk to people and you talk to your family and friends, they have family and friends too. And if you do it right and you just make yourself available, there are enough opportunities that come your way.
Yeah.
You may not grow as fast as you want, but you'll grow with great stability. And if you do a good job by, of course, being a human. A perfect example, right now I'm looking for this young couple that just got married. She was 9 years old when I met her.
Wow.
She was the daughter of one of my clients.
Mm-hmm.
So that client, who was a family member of another client, I just did a good job for them.
Yep.
So they told them who to use. They told them, now I've got the 9-year-old daughter when I met him is now calling me and buying a house.
That's crazy.
You know, that's the value of being in it as long as I have. But everyone else can get there too.
Yeah.
You know, it's
How young does that make you feel? I'm just kidding.
not as old as knowing I just had a wonderful new grandbaby.
That's fair. That's fair. No, that's incredible. And it's one of, it's one of my principles of building this company is the same thing I did when I was a realtor. And that is, if you do such an incredible job and you truly care for people and you take care of people, people know when it's genuine.
Yeah.
If you're genuine, authentic, and caring, people are going to rave about you.
Yep.
As long as you do a good job and you're not an idiot. They're going to rave about you. And you create raving fans. Raving fans
Will
create more
cheerlead for
raving
you.
fans.
Absolutely. And I am not, because I'm also a broker and, with where I'm at with my business, I'm not constantly marketing myself. And that's just where I'm at in my career. So that family that I just mentioned, they haven't heard from me except in, hey, good to see you again, or good to hear from you, or whatever, in years sometimes.
Yeah.
But I left enough of an impression when I did help them.
Yep.
That, they called me. They had their daughter said, hey, I'm getting married. I want to buy a house. Here's David. Here's his number,
This is the only person you call right here,
and
which is important.
Yeah.
I know the number used to be everybody knows 9 realtors. I don't know what that number is now.
Oh, no, yeah.
Because now there's 19,000 realtors in Nashville, which is
Yes.
crazy. But yeah, so backstory, a little fun fact backstory. I started in July of 2015, and in April of 2016, I was on the verge of quitting. I got recruited to Remax and in David's office, and I was so arrogant. I walked into
I wouldn't say arrogant.
I was backed into a corner, and sometimes when I get backed into a corner, I get a little feisty and arrogant. And so I walked into his office and I said, in 2 years, I'm leaving here and starting my own company. And he goes, well, you should get consistent in your business first.
Just sell a house first, then we'll talk about your business,
Yeah. And it was under your leadership that I started to accelerate and start building my team. And you really helped frame my mind and my perspective to the right things, the right thought processes. And now your office is the biggest office in our network. We've got,
I think so, yeah. 107, 108, somewhere around there.
Something.
Yeah.
And 3/4 of the orientation this morning was your office.
Yeah.
What are some wins that you've been having in the office with your folks?
My fairly recent forms training has really taken root.
Good.
I feel like that not only has the agents understanding the reason why we have the training, because they're coming across agents from other firms that have not had the training, and they are coming across as a much stronger agent, which helps in negotiations, But just, I think that showing that implemented and it working.
Yeah.
And it's saving phone calls to our transaction coordinators, saving confusion to the title companies, saving confusion amongst agents and buyers and sellers. So I would say that was the first thing that came to mind on what have I seen recently that has a positive impact,
Interesting.
And we have, every office has some rotation. Private office rentals kind of come in and go out and whatever. But we have some new incoming agents that are residing in the office day to day. They're coming in almost every day in their offices, and watching them and hearing them work with each other and build a camaraderie, I think is a very positive feeling as well.
Yeah. So this is your 20th year, right? In real estate?
21st, yeah.
20. Oh, yeah.
02. So 20 full years. So I'm
Okay,
in my
yeah.
21st.
And you've been a broker for 17, 18?
17, 18, yeah, since 05.
Okay. So over the years, you've seen a lot of really successful people, and I'm sure you've seen a lot more that failed out of the business.
Yeah.
Over time, right? Yeah. The industry, last I checked, the industry failure rate for an agent is 89% in 3 years, which is sad because, again, it goes to overcomplicating or oversimplifying.
Right.
What are some daily habits that over those 20 years you've seen people who are consistently successful deploy?
My number one thing is the words show up, right? You might not have anything to sell. You might not have a client in your pipeline right now. That doesn't mean you don't have anything to do, right? You can analyze inventories. You can learn about what houses are going up in a neighborhood. You can learn about what the sales prices are of this house versus that house, so that when you do have a chance to answer a question for somebody, you don't have to say, let me get back to you.
Yeah.
You know, you sound like the expert that you should be. And you can do that when there's nothing else to do for a buyer or seller. So that's my number one thing, is show up. And I consistently see people, I'll tag Brenna Foster for a second here, right? She didn't have any business going. Then she started her YouTube stuff. She posted and she posted and she posted and she posted for no return.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yep.
But she stayed with it, and now it's starting to result.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, it's consistently showing up.
yeah.
Yeah. And when actually I talked to her about a month ago on that, and I was like, just keep going. Like, I mean, it can be so disheartening.
Yeah,
and I get it, right? Like, you feel like you're putting in all this effort, you're not getting anything at all. You're just wasting a bunch of time is how it feels.
Yeah.
But the reality is things take time, you know, and YouTube channels, they take 10 months, 12 months before you start getting any traction. She's probably about a year into it at this point.
Yeah.
And anything that anyone does in this business, I was always told it's a 90-day business. The actions of today, you're going to start seeing results within 90 days or so.
Right.
So consistently take action so you can keep having it. And so many agents, for whatever reason, they'll get into the peaks and valleys.
Yeah. We, I think, as a species, are very, it goes back to patience again. We are needing some instant gratification, and this is not the business that offers that.
Yeah.
You know, so if you can't get over the fact that what you do today may not affect you for 90 days, you're going to have to learn to live with that, or this may not be your business.
Yeah.
And some people you can teach that to, and some people you can't. And unfortunately, the attrition is a lot of people are very eager, or they come in thinking they're going to make money right away, and they don't have enough money. You know, if you're starting, anyone listening, if you're starting your real estate business, try to not spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, don't have a lot of debt. You know, come in knowing that this is the time in your career that you need to not be buying anything, not be borrowing money. You know, don't spend $10,000 a month on Zillow leads. Go in slowly and let it build, and then look at more complicated processes.
Yeah, I get asked all the time, is this worth it? Is this worth my money? And I'm like, no.
No, never is. Almost never. Almost never.
Like, when I got, so about a year and a half ago, or I guess 2020, we were buying Zillow leads as a company.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole thought process was like, hey, let's turn this into like a revenue generator, really, right?
Yeah.
And I lost $90,000 on Zillow leads. And the way that Zillow has it structured is they'll sell you zip codes, but then they'll sell it like 300%.
Yeah.
So what we used to be able to get, 50 leads a month out of one zip code, now you're getting like 2.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, it makes 0 sense. And, people in general, not just real estate, but it's really pronounced in real estate, is shiny object syndrome. I call it an SOS.
Yeah.
And when you start falling into this next shiny object, I go, hit the brakes, because SOS, declare an emergency. Let's not do that.
There are countless companies that sell to realtors and real estate companies, usually in some form of lead generation or systems processes that come in and come out of the business as often as realtors do.
Yeah.
Right. So why would their fancy phone call and smooth talking salesperson make them the best opportunity for you? See through that.
Yeah.
You know, they are doing their jobs, and they're going to be good for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But there's going to be a lot of people that buy into it, and they're not successful, and the company that's even selling to them is no longer in business, and so they can't even, fight for their money back or whatever.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of that in this business because it's it's one of the highest industries in our global economy, right? Or certainly our country's economy, and there's a lot of people that want a piece of it.
Yeah.
I
as a new agent, just be really, really aware of those things.
Yeah.
All right. You've got a brand new agent just joined your office. You've told them to show up. They show up. They're doing some of those things. What are you trying to instill in them mentally from a thought process standpoint, and then from an action standpoint?
Confidence is what I want to instill with them, because often they feel like they're on their own. Even the ones that, want to sign up with a mentor or whatever, they still feel like nobody's helping them somewhat. And what any agent should realize is capitalize on what a brokerage like simpliHOM does for you, what a broker like me does for you. If you're a new agent and somebody asks how long you've been doing the business, sometimes that's a hard question to answer. Right? If you say 3 weeks, you feel like they're just gonna shoot you down. But if you say, I'm new into this business, but I come from whatever business, there's always a related transferable skill. Plus, I've got an office that has hundreds of years of experience and thousands of hours and thousands of transactions, and they're all here with me, making sure that I help you correctly.
Yeah.
Utilize the resources that are available to you that don't cost you a dime.
Yeah, absolutely. And then experienced agents, experienced agents go through the same ups and downs, mentally, sometimes emotionally, other times. What are the things, the thought processes and the actions that you're working to remind them or instill in them?
You kind of just mentioned it. There are ups and downs, and that it is totally human and normal for you to experience them, and to don't let the downs get you out. Feel down. That's human. That's going to happen. But realize that if you take the last 5 years of your successful business and you've had 3 months of down, well, don't forget about those other 4+ years. You've had more ups than downs, or you wouldn't be where you were as an experienced agent or as a successful agent. So ride it out. Do what you do. Your system works, and everybody has these little bumps in the road. Now, if you've changed something in your business, analyze that. Has it affected you? If you've made a change to your business, if you've, started a team or not started a team and you should have, or you got rid of a team or whatever, then see if that was the right move. But if you're doing everything you're doing and it's worked for a long time, it's probably still working.
Yeah, fair enough. What are you most excited about in the future?
Oh, a lot.
Good.
I look forward to I look forward to having better access to inventory.
Yeah.
For sure. It's very frustrating for agents and buyers and therefore sellers to consistently lose on these multiple offers. I don't have a solution. I don't think there is a solution. I think that is the world we live in right now. And we're just going to have to keep finding ways to be unique and present our buyers differently. And like I said, go out and find inventory ourselves. But I look forward to that easing a little bit.
Yeah. What are your personal goals for 22?
Personal goals for 22.
Or I prefer commitments. What are your commitments for 22?
Well, I'm working on a little subdivision of my own. I'm
Nice.
very excited about. Yeah. That is going to be my primary focus for my production.
Yeah.
Right? Beyond that, it's making sure that the agents are happy, making sure that they are utilizing the tools that we offer, understanding the value of those resources, and just I'd like to see more camaraderie. I'd like to see more people come into the office, for example, and every time I see that, they have fun. and they learn something from each other. But human nature is they get busy with their families and everything else, and that doesn't always happen. So I'd like to find ways to encourage more camaraderie.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. That'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. All right, I think that's.
What do you look forward for 2022?
I am looking forward to growth.
Yeah,
as always.
Yeah.
We grew a ton last year, and now I'm just like, let's keep it going. I wanna see 30 cities for us in the next few years. I want to see all of the ancillaries working the way they're supposed to, and I want to see no less than 800 agents in the organization by the end of 2022.
Great.
So yeah, that about wraps us up. Thank you guys for joining us today. Thanks for hanging in there. Thank you, David, for coming and sharing your nonstop knowledge. You have so much knowledge. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I know that so many people are going to listen to this and go, good Lord, I wish he was my broker, for everything that you have. So thank you.
Well, if you're not with simpliHOM, that is really easy to do. You go to joinsimpliHOM.com
right.
/onboarding.
Yeah,
we can make that happen for you.
Absolutely. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for putting up with my horrible hosting. And we will see you guys soon. Please like, subscribe, comment, all the fantastic and amazing things to show your support for this podcast. And we will talk to you guys next week.
Thanks.
Hey guys, it's Swy. Thank you for joining us this week, and we really hope you got some useful information and we made your day a little bit better. If you're interested in joining the movement of realtors getting their time and life back, check us out at joinsimplihome.com on the browser, at simpliHOM on socials, or in the description. See you next week.